Her name will be.
Oh, look at you go.
Mr. Mayor,
You're
you
really
are now
on one
live.
of those TV quiz shows.
Can you
I'll
hear me
take
now?
a
Thanks,
Star
Ben.
Trek for 50. Okay, we're live and we're in or I'm calling the meeting to order. It's a special meeting of the governing body on December 21st, 2022. The time of starting is about 10 after 1. We've got we're trying to get, I know we're live streaming, but we don't have all of our council members who are trying to zoom in quite yet on the screen.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay, we can't see them, but they are present. Okay. With that said, let's have follow regular order. Pledge of Allegiance led by Councillor Cassett. Salute to the flag from Councillor Lee Garcia, the New Mexico flag, and an invocation from Councillor Merworth with any remembrances to follow. Please rise.
Well, in these few days before the Christmas holiday and in the middle of, I believe, the Hanukkah holiday, and with other celebrations of other folks in this season, I just want us to take a moment to reflect and be grateful and think about and help those who need help in this very busy season, and that we all take the moment to live in the moment. And with that, Mayor.
Thank you. Anyone have someone they'd like to remember at this time? If not, let's just think about what Councillor Merworth said. We're close to the end of the year. Too many people we love have been lost. Too many people we love are not in good health. Let's just bow our heads for a minute as we close the year and reflect on those we love, those we've lost, those we wish healing and health to. Thanks, everybody. Be seated. Madam Clerk, can you call the roll?
I can't, I'm going old school today. I didn't bring my laptop. So Mayor Weber,
Present.
Councillor Cassett. Here. Councillor Chavez. Here. Councillor Lee Garcia.
Here.
Councillor Lindell. Here. Councillor Rivera. Councillor Merworth.
Here.
Councilwoman Villarreal.
Present. Present.
Here's present. It looks like she's speaking. I saw her unmute.
I'm here.
Okay,
Good.
perfect. Yay, we can hear
Thank
you.
you.
All
Very
right.
good.
Yes. And Councillor Michael Garcia is not present. He's
All right.
unavailable for this meeting.
We have a quorum. Can we get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Madam Clerk, can you take us to item 7A and B, and we'll get a presentation to talk us through where we are. You could read them into the record, please.
Yes, item 7A is request for approval to extend the period to close in the purchase agreement for approximately 23.08 acres located at 1085 Richards Avenue, item number 22-0500 from December 30th, 2022 to January 31st, 2023. Mayor, would you like me to read 7B?
Yes, please, because
Awesome.
we have to take them as a
Perfect.
choice.
This is item B is authorizing the city manager to terminate the agreement for the purchase of approximately 23.08 acres located at 1085 Richards Avenue. Item number 22-0500. If the Department of Game and Fish does not agree to extend the closing date from December 30th, 2022 to January 31st of 2023 on or before December 30th of 2022.
Thank you. And Mr. Lees, you can walk us through what these refer to, why we're here, and what is the appropriate step forward. And I think the city manager may also wish to provide some context.
Mr. Mayor, councilors, thank you for this special session. And I'll summarize the events that have brought us here today. As you know, in mid-October, the governing body approved a purchase agreement for the 23.03 acres of game and fish land, provided for a due diligence period that ended December 15th. During that due diligence period, we did do the phase 1 environmental study. Nothing really came from that. We also had an appraisal done from the city side. We had our own appraisal done, and that appraised value came back less than half of the $3 million appraised value of the game and fish land. So the city's appraisal came back at $1,425,000. Once I got our appraisal back, I did a side-by-side comparison with the game and fish appraisal. The game and fish appraisal, while it had an effective date of March of 2022, that appraiser used comparable sales from 2016 to 2018, nothing newer than 2018. The city appraisal used comparable sales from 2018 to 2022. So there's quite a difference in values of that land. We approached the game and fish, and they were surprised to say the least. They, I believe, still would like to obviously stand by their appraised value. What we decided to do by mutual agreement is employ a third appraiser to do a desk review of both appraisals. And so that appraiser can use one or other value of one of the two appraisals, or establish his own value based on the appraisals and other information. So that we have a PO in place as of yesterday. We expect to have that appraisal review back within the first week of January. And I believe the game and fish are due to meet about mid-January 2023. So from that point, we'll have more of a course of action. This amendment, as Madam Clerk said, extends the term to close on this purchase of the land from December 31st to January 31st, and also provides for the city manager to terminate the purchase agreement if we can't come to terms on a mutually agreeable price with game and fish.
Thank you. Mr. Blair, you've been in discussions with the state for the past few weeks. Maybe you could catch us up on some of the context and how you see these two pieces relating to each other.
Sure thing, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. Thank you, councilors, for rearranging your schedule to come to the special meeting. Frankly, this is all about trying to keep us moving the ball down the field, and that the discussions and the to purchase the land don't come to an end. Our partners at Game and Fish have been very collegial, very cooperative. I think they very much so still want us to buy the land. We very much still want to buy the land, but there really was, I think, some fundamental disagreements about the data and their appraisal and how we felt about that, the data in our appraisal and how Game and Fish felt about our appraisal. And so it's been collaborative the entire way. You know, we offered up our list of people who could have provided the appraisers. We let Game and Fish pick the person they wanted to pick. And so we've been sending a lot of messages back and forth. And so if anything else, Mayor, I want to say a couple of things, one of which is how grateful I am for Terry Lease, Rich Brown, City Attorney Aaron McSherry, Andrea Salazar, Emily Oster, Alexis Lotero, have bent over backwards to prioritize getting this done within the time frame that was in the agreement. But we're in a place where there just is a fundamental disagreement. And so what we may find out is that we've signed the paperwork, the appraiser, I think I signed the check for the, for the appraiser this morning. He thinks that he will be able to get this done within the window of time that we're providing right now. And we may find out that the land is worth more than what we offered to pay for it the first time. It could be worth less than what we think our appraisal came in for. But they're doing what's called a desk review. So the person's not doing an entirely new appraisal of the land. They're going to review what are the appraisal that the city had done, the appraisal that the Game and Fish Commission had done, and then sort of look to see what I think a reasonable person in that situation who's has an appraiser background would say is the right sort of amount to come to. So there may likely still frankly be some more work for us to do. We may need to call a special meeting or have this on the agenda for a regularly scheduled meeting in January again, depending upon what information comes back. To Mr. Lisa's point, Game and Fish is expecting to meet in the middle of January. They have not scheduled that meeting yet. And so, but it's usually in the middle of the month. And so the team here at the staff level have been foot on the gas pedal the entire time, just trying to make sure that we don't lose this opportunity and that we get it done. So thank you again for allowing us to bring you here today. And the second 7B really is about, I think, just recognizing that if the appraisal comes back at a number that we don't agree with, or that is, I'm sorry, I will let the city attorney speak.
Mayor, Member Councilors, B is just if we don't get a signed version of the agreement you're voting on in A. So we don't have a signed version from Game and Fish. If we are not to get a signed version, then we won't be able to extend the time. And it allows the city manager to terminate the agreement
So
on your behalf.
let me
Thank
be
you.
sure I get it. 7A says we need to extend the amount of time so that this appraisal of the appraisals can be done. And we've made that gesture, and we've been assured, at least on the phone or through a Zoom, that the state is amenable to the idea, but the city attorney has yet to get a signed document which would put it into law or put it into a written agreement.
Mayor Weber, that's correct. If we don't have it does require a written agreement. We have a verbal commitment at this point. Yes.
And an email commitment, Mr. Mayor and councilors, that they think this is the right path and they want to continue moving forward, and that they intend to take the action in January.
So the 7B is a what if, 7A is what we want to have happen.
Yes, sir.
Okay, are there questions about the two items for discussion and action? Councilor Rivera, you have the floor, sir.
Just curious why this wasn't included in the land swap that we approved it, or where it's at with Midtown and the state police facility.
Mayor Weber, Councilor Rivera, it's a different approval process for this land. Game and Fish actually owns this land rather than the General Services Department.
Right, thank you.
Interesting. Yes, Councilor Garcia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Blair, what do we know what the appraisals cost for us to administer or to pay for? Obviously you signed a check, but
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, Councilor Garcia, it was roughly $3,300, I think, in that range. It was less than $4,000.
and obviously we're covering that costs.
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Garcia, yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. One last question, I guess, and well, given the fact that if we were to go ahead and approve 7A, if the appraisal comes in at a much higher amount, I mean, we're giving you full authority to make the decision. What would you do?
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Garcia, I don't think that I have the authority if the desk review of both appraisals comes back beyond or above the 3 million that you all have agreed to. I suspect, and I'll look to the city attorney, we would need to come back to you to get your authorization to do that.
And Mayor Weber, Councilors, we would not need to pay more. We could pay 3 because that's the agreement we have.
So we would not pay more than what the initial agreement was, given the fact that they would also agree that we're extending this, correct? Because they can hold us to the December 30th.
Mayor Weber, Councilor Garcia, we're currently under the December 30th timeline unless we do something before
And
then.
are they in agreement, or we don't know that yet, that to extend?
We actually asked explicitly for the executive director, Michael Sloan, to give me authority. We had a verbal agreement over a Zoom that they agreed that they would like to continue moving forward and that we should go beyond the due diligence period that ended on the 15th. And then we, through some text messages and phone calls, said, we really need to get something from you in writing that says you agree with this, that we're going to go forward in this way. And they said, yes. He has some limitations as well, that he can't act without his commissioners telling him what to do. But the intent of some of the commissioners I've spoken with and the executive director, that they do intend to take the next step with us.
Okay, we stand to obviously save concern about them on the appraisals.
Did you get that?
I'm sorry, sir.
The last comment was if the appraisal comes in closer to our number than their number, Councilor Garcia is saying in that instance, we would save whatever the difference is, that assuming they agree, they accepted that number, we would come in at below 3 million for an actual purchase price rather than the agreed to number.
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Garcia, I think the city attorney can speak to that.
So if the appraisal price comes out higher, there's no agreement to do anything either higher or lower. But the agreement does recognize the city's right to terminate if our appraisal was lower and that if we can't come to an agreement of a new price that's not 3 million, but the current agreement is for 3 million. So we have the right to purchase for 3 million and they don't have the right to increase that number.
Out of what we previously approved. Okay, I understand. Okay, thank you. No more questions.
Thank you. Councilor Rivera.
You know, when their commission's gonna meet, I assume before December 30th?
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Rivera, no, they will not be meeting again until the middle of January.
So if this isn't approved by the end of December,
We have, Mr. Mayor, Councilor Rivera, we have an email from the executive director of the Game and Fish Commission letting us know that they intend to also extend and that they agree that we can all move past the December 30th deadline together.
between the council and all our process and the commission and their process, is January 30th enough time?
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Rivera, it's enough to get us to the next step. Like, we're just trying to get the next first down and keep moving. And so I think what will be the determining factor there ultimately really will be, what does the desk audit or the desk review of the two appraisals say? If it comes in, you know, I think closer to the Game and Fish number, we'll have to have a conversation about that. If it comes in closer to ours, we might have to really have a hard conversation with Game and Fish about whether they would be willing to come down in price from the 3 million that was agreed to.
And to the issue of time, we may have to have another special meeting like this one in order to beat the clock. But the goal at the moment is to keep the clock moving because of the expiration at the end of this month. Otherwise, it's basically game over.
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Rivera, I will tell you that there were some initial conversations about potentially extending this until April or May. That was a suggestion made by Game and Fish that I think some of the commissioners didn't care for. And so our point in sort of thinking that was a good idea would be to avoid having to call you back in the third week of January and the second week of March and, you know, and again and again. And so we're trying to navigate how to do this as cleanly for you all so that we don't have to keep doing special meetings. But if we do get boxed in, we'll have to do that. But
You're welcome. Any other questions? We'd like it not to be fishing game over. See what I just did there? Any other questions about this? I guess we need to have individual motions for item 7 and item 7A and 7B. So I would first entertain a motion for item 7A.
Move to approve.
Motion made to approve it, and there's a second. Is there a discussion of the motion? Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Yes, Counselor Cassett,
Yes.
Counselor Chavez,
Yes.
Counselor Lee Garcia,
Yes.
Counselor Lindell, Counselor Rivera, Counselor Marworth,
Yes.
Councilwoman Villarreal,
Yes.
Mayor Weber.
Yes.
Motion has been approved.
Thank you. And now we go for a motion for 7B. Is there a motion on that item?
Move to approve.
There's a motion to approve 7B, and there's a second. Is there discussion? Madam Clerk, can you call the roll on item 7B?
Counselor Chavez,
Yes.
Counselor Lee Garcia,
Yes.
Counselor Lindell, Counselor Rivera,
Yes.
Councilor Worth,
Yes.
Councilwoman Villarreal,
Yes.
Councilor Cassett,
Yes.
Mayor Weber.
Yes,
Motion has been approved.
thank you. Thank you, Mr. Lees. Appreciate you. Could you introduce item 8A, please?
Yes, item 8A is consideration of a resolution. It's a resolution rescinding resolution number 2022-2 relating to the Open Meetings Act and adopting annual notice requirements for 2023.
And you might want to give some context to this item, please.
Sure. We introduce a resolution annually adopting our noticing requirements for the Open Meetings Act. And so this is the introduction of that, and then it'll go before governing body on January 11th, 2023.
And if I understand correctly, this is annually required so that we meet open meetings stipulations. Getting it introduced begins the process to get it adopted.
Correct, Mayor. We do adopt a resolution every year and then rescind the previous year.
Great. That introduces that piece of legislation. There's no further business at this meeting. Thank you, everybody. As the city manager said, it's not always fun to interrupt the work of the week to come in for a special meeting, but I think it was expeditious and well explained as to why it's good for us to do it. So thank you, everybody. And we are now adjourned.
Thanks, Lawrence, for the virtual connection.